Welcome to The Source with your host, Dr. C.T. Curry, and co-host Coby Owens. News all across the nation. The Source. Stay in the loop in the city of Wilmington, Delaware. Work together for change in the community. A call to action to find the resources. The Source, the latest in news.
Good evening. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Coby Owens.
And welcome to The Source. Coby, you know, I get so much so much positive, and you're all positive about me wearing my hat. Matter of fact, one of the ladies in Dunkin' Donuts said to me when I didn't have it on, she said, "It's December, where's your hat?" So I want to tell everybody you're going to see this for the next amount of time we have in December. But listen, I have not had an opportunity to hear of any or to view any shootings in the city over the last week. Are you aware of any?
So I am very happy to report that I have not heard of any shootings here in the city of Wilmington over this last week. So I'm glad everyone had a good Thanksgiving and the city was very calm.
Yeah, and we're speaking directly to the city because there were some. But before I go any further, I do want to say that there have been an uptick in presence, and I've noticed that because I've driven around a lot doing different things, and I noticed that in the city, especially some of the hot spots, as I call them, the hot spots, there have been more policing. So I'm hoping that this will continue now that a new administration is coming in. Maybe they'll keep this trend going if they decide to. If they decide to keep the chief as well as the for the police. But there was a shooting and a murder, murder in Dunleaf. That was really shocking to me, and that's still considered Wilmington, but it's not the city.
Right, it's not the incorporated part of the city of Wilmington, but Dunleaf is pretty much a community of Wilmington. But yeah, a 30-year-old man killed himself. When police arrived on the scene, they found both him and his mother on the floor bleeding out. He himself, 30 years old, shot himself and killed himself after shooting his mother, who's only 46. So she had him when she was 16 over personal matters. They had a dispute, which led to him shooting her multiple times and then turning the gun on himself.
How do you? Now, I know my relationship with my mother and I. I know your relationship with your mother. How do you shoot your mother?
I have no clue. I really don't. And she was transported to the hospital in stable condition, and of course he passed away. It's very interesting to see dynamics like this happening. And I know everyone has a different relationship with their parents, but it seemed as though he was provoked by something, and then he thought the only way to handle the situation was with violence and using a firearm, which is very dangerous, which in situations like this, and people talk about, oh, well, what could you do to stop stuff like this? If people have mental health issues, if people have showed displays of previous domestic violence tendencies or whatsoever, we do have red flag laws here in Delaware, which gives, if the person's in your household or a family member, it gives you the opportunity to properly go to the police, and under this law, they will take away the guns for a certain amount of time while they do an investigation to see if you should get them back or not.
Yeah, but we don't even know if the gun was legal. I mean,
that's also
the
very
reporting
true.
didn't say it. But what I'm really asking is how. I don't know what kind of conversation or dispute one would have with his mother where it would lead. Now I can understand that the mother may have told one girlfriend one thing and told another girlfriend another, and then now there's a feud going on. But still, that does not lead to multiple times shooting your mother.
Correct.
But I think you nailed it when you said it could have been some mental issues going on there. I just don't understand it. And when I heard about this, it literally mesmerized me because one, the relationship, mother to son, and normally you don't hear that, but But we're glad that she survived, and we're sorry that he succumbed to his self-inflicted wounds. But I'm hoping that that mom will be able to get through this. And I give credit to the Newcastle County Police because they did give us a little bit more information. Because at first, all they said was a shooting and one death, but then they did give us a little bit more saying that it was over a dispute.
And I think that's all people are asking for to be done here in the city of Wilmington as well too. They put out the initial report that there was a shooting, and then they followed up with more details. Then they followed up yet again with the names of the victim and the shooter as well too, and letting everyone know that it was an isolated incident. It came from a domestic dispute. The mother was transported to the hospital in stable condition, will be okay, and unfortunately the son not so much.
Yes, I understand. We're going to turn our attention to something that this may be some good news to you because you were one of the forerunners in saying this guy got to go and that he was a product of privilege. But I just saw that the Department of Justice made a settlement where the gentleman from Adams Street will never be able to hold a landlord license again. That's as an update to the show. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the guy's name is AJ Pacormi, who was the landowner of the 27 units on North Adams Street that was condemned by the city 2 days after everyone paid their rent, which left 22 families out in a wind. We were over there organizing, helping get services for them. The city really had no plan for it. I will say Matt Meyer showed up. He helped. He got all those people moved over to the Hope Center who wanted to go to the Hope Center. And then for the individuals who didn't want to go to the Hope Center, state reps Sherry Dorsey Walker helped get them vouchers to go into hotels, motels, or wherever they wanted to go. So again, it took us all coming together to get this done, but I want to talk about AJ. AJ has been a problem slumlord here in the city of Wilmington for almost 50 years. And finally, at the end of Pizicki's term of him being in office, they're finally taking away his license. I mean, I guess it's probably because he's donated to Pizicki's campaign in the past, and these two have been friends. But Kathy Jennings' office announced that his tenure as a landlord is over. This was a multi-year department DOJ investigation, which included that over 4 dozen interviews, looking at documents, the tenant's health and safety, and all these different things, and pretty much his mismanagement of the North Adams Street properties led to them collapsing, the outside wall collapsing in May of 22. And then he tried to rent them out again while they were condemned. And I know at least 60 people filled out applications for him. That's $50 per application for units that was never going to be rented out. He had no intention of renting them out. He couldn't rent them out because they were still condemned. But he got that money, right? And he never returned that money. So again, he was ordered to take care of these properties, fix them up and everything. Because he has failed to do that, he's violated prior court orders, the law, and now he must sell his Delaware properties and leave the apartment management business within 30 months. So that gives him 2 years to rotate everyone out. He will have to pay $150,000 fine and $5,000 headed to each of those affected tenants.
Now, does he have to have a insurance policy to pay that? Because I know he's going to file bankruptcy. I know how they do.
That I don't know. I haven't had an opportunity to read through the entire case filing that they just put out last night. But again, he probably will file for bankruptcy. From my understanding, he's also subject to a suspended judgment of an additional $600,000 if he fails to abide by the previous agreement, which is the $150,000.
I feel so bad for the tenants of that facility, as well as those who were scammed for their application fees. He deserves this and more.
Yeah.
And sometimes people say, well, you're a pastor, you should not, even wish ill on anyone. I don't wish ill. His sins have now caught up with him, and he really didn't have anybody to block or protect him when he did at one point. People holding things up because they still held it too long, and I don't know whether we really should have given 30 months. That's another concern I have, because these people who were forced to move didn't get 30 months to move.
So from my understanding, how I read that, it means all his properties. So
Yes.
he owns a ton of properties in the city of Wilmington.
Okay. No, I would seize them and pay the people. See, and again, privilege will always lend itself to finding a way to make sure privilege is taken care of. Now, he can file bankruptcy, he can be protected, sell all these properties, or get into his children's name or whatever else. I think that they should have seized all of his properties and paid people who he have wronged. Mm-hmm. But they gave him 30 months. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know all the details, and I'm not trying to confess to be that person, but I just feel really bad. Mm-hmm. That he just get away with this. So
listen, at the end of the day, I think $5,000 is enough for each individual who's been harmed by him? Absolutely not, because he had them living in substandard living conditions. We probably will never know, or not know for the next 10, 15 years, the health implementations that means, right? So some of his buildings had mold in it, right? That causes breathing in mold spores and everything like that. That causes all different types of respiratory diseases and heart diseases as well too. So again, it takes time for that to form. And if they've been living in situations like that for long term, right? That can cause a lot of issues, So again, I hope, I almost hope that he violates the 150,000, so it goes up to 600,000. But at the end of the day, he has enough properties that he could sell off that he'll be more than able to.
That's what I was thinking. As you said, he has a whole lot of properties here in Delaware,
absolutely,
not just in Wilmington.
Correct.
And but then now the question is, do we have anybody who is stewarding over him to ensure that each person who was affected is going to be compensated if there's no bankrupt, any other legal things that happen?
As of right now, I don't know. Usually they have a DAG, which is a deputy attorney general, who kind of oversees that, and whoever the complainants were in the lawsuit, they can go back to them to follow up to make sure the court order is being followed through. I don't know who the judge on this case is either, but that is, what is usually a part of all of that.
And this was a settlement, so that means the judge, he or she just needed to agree to it. They didn't make a final judgment.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just think this AJ person is bad. He's bad. And what he did on Adams Street was just unbelievable. And I remember covering it. And we kept saying, we're going to keep getting back to you. And I remember, with Matt Myers, as well as Sherry Dorsey, yourself, and a couple others, who really was down there trying to get some relief to the people, get them comfortable as best you could. You couldn't make them comfortable because they had to leave their own homes. But some of the conditions y'all put them in were better than the conditions they were leaving.
Exactly.
So in actuality, y'all did do the best y'all could, but I just feel really bad that he was able to get away with murder, in my opinion. And we won't know the effect of it until a couple of years down the line. 30 months, we're going to see. So we're going to continue to follow up on this and see, whether or not everybody's been made whole. Does anyone have a list of all the people who were tenants? Or I'm sure they probably do.
We have a list from when it happened that we turned over to the city and to the state. I'm sure they have a more up-to-date about other properties that he owns as well, too. We only had the North Adams Street, which started all this. But again, like I said, he has close to 60 properties throughout the city of Wilmington alone. He has properties throughout the state as well, too. Those are a little less documented. I don't know where all of them are. I know some are in Ellesmere and Newport as well. But the ones in Wilmington are the ones in the worst condition. And North Adams Street was not the only one that was falling apart, had mold and stuff like that. All of his properties are like that. He was just collecting money and not doing anything to embetter them.
Now, this is for Delaware or just for Wilmington? About his license.
This is for Delaware.
Okay, that's important. Okay.
So all his properties have to go.
Okay. And the last thing I wanted to just share on this one is that when we're looking at this individual, will he be able to put this in somebody else's name and still operate?
I don't believe so. I either way, he would have to sell off to be able to make those payments.
Okay.
Now, mind you, he could sell off one or two and have enough money to go ahead and make those payments and then put the rest in a family member's name. I don't know if he has kids or not.
Okay. Now, so do you think if he's the one who's going to sell them, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I was wondering if they ever go to sheriff's sale, I'm always looking for investment, not for myself, but for the church that I pastor, because I think there's a lot of seniors who are watching us who need affordable housing, and some of his properties are in prime locations, and we can certainly convert and make these things. So I'm going to be paying attention to sheriff's sales. We'll be paying attention to the Bank Delaware. Was it the Bank of Delaware? Or what do you call that bank? Land Bank. Land Bank to pay attention to that, because if he's going to start selling them off dirt cheap, I want to make sure that we're in a position to be able to buy them so that we can be able to help our community. Last thing I want to share with you, and then we're going to be done for my segment of the show, is that in Wilmington, there was a Wilmington man was charged with attempting to buy houses with bad checks and also forged documents. How does that even become possible? Yeah,
so there was a report of attempted theft of a residence in Towson, Delaware, below Middletown and Odessa. And apparently he tried to pass this check off to buy a house. He is from Wilmington, Delaware. But again, he forged bank documents saying that he had the money to go ahead and purchase this house. Of course, they run their multiple background checks of the check to make sure it's real, and that's when he was caught. But apparently he has done similar incidents like this, not only in Delaware, but also in North Carolina and Virginia. And they were looking for him in North Carolina and Virginia, but it wasn't until this happened here in Delaware that they were able to apprehend him. He is being held on a $40,000 secured bond right now.
40. That's it. Oh, I guess it was only he didn't kill anyone.
Right.
He just forged some documents. It's just that times are interesting right now.
Listen, it's rough out here. It's rough out here. These houses are not cheap whatsoever. And again, people are looking to move, but with the housing crisis that we're in right now, we have no more starter homes, right? Which means everyone's sitting on their starter homes for so long, and they're building these new luxury homes. They look beautiful. They're nice. I love going on Zillow and looking at them, especially like the $2 million ones, knowing I'm probably never going to buy one. But again, they're nice to look at. But again, when things like this happens, you're going to see more and more in this. I'm actually shocked that this is the only case that we've heard of this year. I was looking at this, and in other states, they have seen a uptick in these type of fraud cases.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess we're going to have to make sure we pay attention and not only paying attention, but making sure that our credit is right. So if people should check your credit, make sure nobody's using your credit so that you can be able to do what you want to do when the time comes. There was a tragedy thing that happened, and since we have a couple of extra minutes left on our space, there was something happened with the UnitedHealth, I think it's UnitedHealth CEO. I was really mesmerized to see that he was shot dead right in the heart of North Manhattan. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so it was early morning on Wednesday. He was heading like 6:45 in the morning. He was heading to an investors meeting at a local hotel, and he was assassinated. This was a professional hit that, the hitman, there was a bystander walking by, didn't even bother her or worry about her.
Is that what I saw in the picture? She was in the picture?
Mm-hmm. She was walking by. They were walking past each other. The hitman was standing there, knew it was him, and shot him multiple times. And there has been videos released on social media as well, too. It's very graphic. But one of my things about this, and the CEO's name was Brian Thompson, there has been mixed reactions from the public about this. People are sad that he was killed, but then they also highlight the evil he did as CEO. UnitedHealthcare has one of the highest denial of claims. At 32% of all claims that come in are denied, but the vast majority being minority and low income communities. Everyone knows that anytime it comes that you have to use your insurance, whether it's house, life, whatever, it is very hard dealing with insurance companies. And you have people which, while I may not have agreed with what he did as CEO, I would never wish harm on anyone. And there are people who are openly celebrating the fact
the
that
stock went up.
The stock went up, which means
crazy.
the investors celebrated as well too. So again, this whole entire case is very interesting. I'm going to be following it to see like what the updates are. But again, this is very interesting to see how this all went down. And I'm sure other CEOs now are going to take steps for personal security, or have their companies pay for the personal security going forward, because this is probably sent shockwaves.
Now I know New York PD is very strong. If it takes them more than 3 days to find this person, I'm going to start believing that it's an inside job, because New York has cameras everywhere. You can't even scratch your nose and not know that you scratched your nose. They got an outstanding picture of him. But do you think it was an inside job, or this is all speculation? This is nothing to report. Or do you think it was just somebody knew of his ills and just decided they wanted to kill him?
I think it was probably someone who's been affected by a family member who his claim was denied, and it cost that family member their life.
But how would they know his schedule like that?
So the investor meeting, because they are a public company, has to be publicly put out there. So they knew the meeting was going on. Again, it's a lot of things. But the reason why I say that is because the shell casings had an etched-in message
I saw
that said deny, depose, and defend. So again, that is a very targeted to let them know,
and that
I lost a loved one, now you lose your life.
Right.
Unfortunately.
So deny, is that something he was doing, or that was a message that the killer was trying to send to him?
How I took it as his company, under his policies, probably denied someone's insurance to cover something that was needed to save someone's life, and that person ended up passing away, and now this is a loved one getting revenge.
Oh wow, that's just sad.
It's something. I mean, I definitely watch way too much Law and Order, way too much, 911 and The Rookie, all those shows, cop shows. I love watching. This seems like something out of one of those shows.
Yeah, and I feel sorry for his two sons, and I think he was going through a divorce at the time. But his two sons, whose dad is gone now, and those are the human parts of you. But I just wish that a lot of the CEOs would recognize it's the small people who are affected by a lot of their policies. Correct. And sometimes, they get their just due when you continue to mess with people's lives. And listen, I remember when I was going through to see what kind of health insurance I wanted. And when United Health came up, I said, absolutely not. I'll stick with Blue Cross. It's not that it's perfect, but it's 10 times better than United.
Blue Cross, later in the day, Blue Cross announced that it will be cutting back, paying for their anesthesia for people who are in surgery. So the amount of time they're willing to pay for it. So they will no longer cover full surgeries in the state of New York, in the state of Connecticut, and the state of Massachusetts. So again, things like that is what upsets a lot of people, especially people who've been paying for a long time. Wow.
Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to go to that Coby's Corner. And at the end of the show, I got a couple questions I want to ask you, because now that the election is over and it seems like some of the elected officials are distant and removed. And I've been receiving a lot of calls, and I want to kind of talk about that a little bit, because I want to make sure that our elected officials don't forget 4 years come real quick. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Join us live for our weekly worship. Every Sunday at 9 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube.
I'm doing the best I can, but I still gotta have a little Chardonnay, and I still gotta have a little this, and I gotta still sneak around. The devil is a liar. That's an excuse.
Wilmington's most exciting church.
Hey, this is Pastor Curry, pastor of the Zion Fair Baptist Church, Wilmington's most exciting church, the church that love ya and anything you can do about it. What we're going to do today is we're going to have a real good conversation. I'm excited. Come on! Every Sunday at 11 a.m. Why don't you call somebody real quickly? Tell them Coffee with Curry is on. And let's get after it.
I'm Naheem Hines, professional football player and proud supporter of the Muscular Dystrophy Association. My mom was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy when I was 14, and I watched her struggle. But MDA helped her get the best treatments and care, and they also help kids like my buddy Ethan.
My name is Ethan. Thanks to the Muscular Dystrophy Association and people like you, I have more hope than ever before. From day one, they've treated me like family at my local care center. MDA is the only one that funds over 150 care centers across the U.S. to help provide state-of-the-art care for adults and kids like me.
MDA has been transforming the lives of people living with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and other related neuromuscular diseases. They fund the research for breakthrough treatments, care, and cures. And MDA provides support to thousands of families like mine and Ethan's in communities like yours. Thanks to MDA, kids and adults can live life to its fullest. Join us and learn more at mda.org today.
Smiles are powerful. A simple smile can light up a whole room. And for 25 years, Smile Train has been lighting up the world with smiles. And each smile marks a step towards a brighter future. As the world's largest cleft lip and palate charity, Smile Train has supported more than 2 million life-changing cleft surgeries in over 90 countries, leaving a legacy of resilience, joy, and beaming smiles for generations of children. To learn more about cleft lips and palates and how Smile Train is supporting the cleft community all over the world, please visit smiletrain.org/learn. Smile Train, lighting up the world with smiles for 25 years.
We're back. Coby, what's going on with the Coby Corner?
Yeah, so everyone probably heard the news.
Yeah.
That last week, President Joe Biden decided to pardon his son, Hunter, who had been at the center of multiple federal investigations for taxes, for illegal firearm, has pardoned him of his crimes dating all the way back to 10 years ago. And pretty much he said, he saw Trump was coming in and he didn't want to put his son through the firing squad. So he went on and pardoned his son. But this has sparked a lot of outrage from both the Republicans and the Democrats. I'll say this. Look, the president has the ability to grant a full and unconditional pardon to anyone they like. Mm-hmm. Now, does this help or does this set a precedent that I think is going to be bad? Absolutely. We knew Trump was going to go in and pardon the January 6 people, right, and release them from prison. But again, this opens the door on everything. But I will say, it's not uncommon. So Trump's new ambassador that he's appointed, who is the father-in-law of his daughter, Jared Kushner's father. He pardoned him at the end of his term in 2019, 2020. So it's not unusual to see that, right? Biden says that the investigation into Hunter was targeted and was unfair.
And I agree.
But there's been a lot of targeted and unfair investigations done. We see this almost every single day in the Black and brown communities. Yeah. It's not a battle of if you're guilty or innocent. It's a battle of who's poor and who's rich. And I think now this opens the door for Biden to look at other cases that was politically motivated and targeted. The one that comes to mind
before you go there, because I know you're going with that, but let's go back to those who are saying, Biden made the promise very clear.
Yes.
I will not forgive, I will not pardon my child. And I want to say to all of you, if that was my child, I would have pardoned him, number one. Number two, I agree with you. There's a lot of people who are on our streets who have not perpetrated any crimes, but they were represented in things of nature. Sure, I would like them to be pardoned as well. We should not continue to allow the Republicans to get the first bite at everything. Democrats are going crazy. Well, he said he wasn't going to do it. He said he wasn't going to do it, but he did it. Well, the reality of it is Trump does the same thing. He's doing the same thing in different areas. Because the Democrats did it first this time doesn't mean it's some unpardonable sin. What he did for his son is what a father would do. He knew that Trump was going to rip that boy apart at his DOJ, and it probably would have sent him back to doing drugs and everything else. Because even if you don't find nothing, if you're constantly investigating and you spend all your money, this is what occurs. So I am in agreement with him, and I know that he said he wasn't, but if he would have left out at the White House and left his son open for this, I would have disliked Biden to another level.
I agree with you. But again, it's nice being the son of the president.
I hear you.
There's a lot.
But I think he was targeted. Look, everyone have said if his name was Hunter Curry, well, not Curry, they probably would get him on that. Hunter Blackenborough, he probably would, the thing they're charging him with was not even gone forward. So even though I hear what you're saying, it was because his father's the president that he was targeted.
Yes and no, right?
Okay.
Because if his last name was Johnson or Smith, it would have went forward, and it has gone forward, right? These cases are almost unheard of for the rich, the wealthy, and the influential. But these cases have moved on for Black individuals, right? Black small business owners and stuff like that. They will go after them, right? So again, I think, and I'm not saying what he did is wrong because, hey, I'm not the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court says the president has complete immunity and can do whatever they want. This was Trump's Supreme Court said this, and Biden is the current sitting president. So he can do whatever he wants. What I'm asking the president to do is to actually act, right? Don't just stop at your son. There is multiple people who should be pardoned. For every Black and brown person sitting in a prison cell or has a federal charge for weed right now, while all their white counterparts are making millions of dollars by legally selling it now, all of them should be pardoned.
Is that on the table? Not so much
could
all
be.
of them, but have that been any kind of conversation?
It has been. It's been multiple asks from Derek Johnson, the president of NAACP, from Mark Morial, president and CEO of the Urban League, from the leading civil rights attorney, Ben Crump, Angela Rye. Like, again, multiple people have asked us, but they've also focused in on Marilyn Mosby, the Baltimore DA, who was also very targeted, politically motivated, and was sentenced to jail time. I don't know if she's actually serving the jail time or on probation or not, but they're asking for a pardon for her as well, too. And the interesting thing is on Wednesday, her husband, who was the Baltimore City Council president, her ex-husband, Baltimore City Council president, he lost his election. So in his last address to the city council, and a bunch of media there. The mayor was actually there as well too, Brandon Scott. His kids were there as well. He made a plea for his ex-wife to be pardoned by the president before he let his kids gavel out the last session. So I think that is, again, powerful. And
do you think he'll do it though? Do you think Biden's heard that? I believe he will.
I hope.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think you have to look at what we're facing over these next 4 years. And if you want to protect your son against that, you should want to protect other people as well too. Because
I agree.
What this Trump administration is lining up to, and I know this is my next point as well too, who he's picking for his cabinet, who, all this other stuff. They are going to attack marginalized communities like never before. And again, I just want to point out, it's not just going to be the LGBT community. It's not just going to be the Muslim community. It's not just going to be the undocumented community. They are coming after everyone. We are paying more in taxes right now to pay for the wealthy tax cuts from 2017. That's why things are more expensive now. Things are more expensive now because in the first round of the Trump administration, they had tariffs, which is just taxes on imported things, right? So again, we're going to be paying more, and they're going to go even harder with these tariffs. It had very little to create economic mobility for the regular day people, for the working class people. It helped the billionaires. They made billions and billions. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Facebook's founder, Zuckerberg. They made millions and billions of dollars. Why most of us saw our paycheck have to go more towards healthcare, more towards groceries, more towards housing, because housing has skyrocketed, right? So this is what we're dealing with. And I really hope that the president sees that and says, hey, I want to fix this. I don't know. What do you think on that?
Well, I'm gonna tell you. What I think is that the rich always take care of the rich, whether it's Democrat or Republican, and the marginalized always get marginalized. So what do I really think? I don't think that none of this is going to matter. What matters is all those rich people who sit in Congress, who like I heard Cheney's name come up. I don't want any of them people to be targeted. I think she did the truth. She told the truth, but I'm agreeing with you. She's no better than the person who have done things right, and they're going to wind up being attacked by the DOJ that Trump is putting together. And I'm with you, Greg, go to the Trump's cabinets. That's crazy.
The list is growing for who he's picking and the issues that are following them. And last show we talked about whether Gates was going to stay in or not. And a day later he dropped out. And then Trump nominated Patty Bond, the former attorney general who worked on his legal team of Florida, to that position. She's having some struggles getting the vote she needs. His defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, the Fox News anchor, who I believe he was a Marine, he was in the military for 20 years, but no real leadership in. And
his mama said that he's horrible.
So, but his mama's making calls.
I know now.
Which someone was like, "Oh, that's such a millennial thing to call your mom to help you." I said, "Oh, don't target millennials now, because this dude picked some crazy dude." But he's having trouble. Unexpected person who gave a little pushback was Senator Joni Ernst. I don't know if she's going to turn around and vote for him, but she did say he still has a lot to learn. And then also women and his colleagues have come out and said he is a really hard drinker. And when he drinks, he spills all secrets and stuff like that. He had a meeting with the other Iowa senator, the senior senator Chuck Grassley, where he, before Grassley could ask anything, he says if he's confirmed, he'll stop drinking completely.
Oh, really?
We'll see how that goes.
Well, why don't he just stop now? Why didn't he stop 6 months ago?
But other than that, I will say as of right now, the most sane pick that Trump has picked so far was his Secretary of Interior with the governor, Doug Burgum. who from North Dakota. He ran for president. He's a billionaire himself, but he is the most sane pick so far.
Rubio, you don't think he's the same pick?
No. I think Rubio is going to be horrible for state and just cause even more issues than we currently have right now. And I think Rubio was only picked to make way for his daughter-in-law to be appointed to the Senate. So that he has an even stronger ally.
That's why he's talking about this DeSantis to become the
defense secretary if this guy can't get it. He did appoint Kelly Loeffler to the Small Business Association. Kelly Loeffler is the U.S. Senator who lost to Raphael Warnock back in 2020. She had been appointed to replace the Isaacson when he resigned from the Senate earlier. Another one that people have a lot of issues with is Bill Long, the former congressman who was picked to be the new IRS administrator. That's going to be very interesting because Trump wants to roll back a lot of the IRS's power. Other than that, there's been no other major ones. Oh, he did pick his first black member of his cabinet, the only one. Of course, he has to oversee urban development and housing. And that's Scott Turner, former NFL player. I believe he ran for office or ran for state rep. I think he's from Texas.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that's
so you coloreds can take care of urban development.
Yeah, that's
so we can say we had somebody over and we ain't gonna get no money, we ain't gonna do nothing with it. But we just wanna make sure. Okay, I understand.
Outside of that, of course, he's brought back some of his former senior advisors. Stephen Miller is deputy chief of staff. The border czar Tom Holman, who's going to overlead deporting people, deporting undocumented people here. Peter Navarro for trade and manufacturer advisor. So again, he is picking a new DEA administrator after Chad Carlson, also withdrew his name from consideration. Trump has an MOU with the DOJ and the FBI to do background checks on people, but he has been skipping the background checks and just announcing who he wants to announce since he is president.
And that's why so much stuff is coming up in news. It seems like everything he does is for TV.
It is, and he has a very TV-based cabinet as well, too. A lot of them are reality show personalities more than professional government officials. So again, this is going to be a very, very interesting 4 years under Trump.
Who do you think will be the next candidate for president behind Trump? You think Vance is going to? That's why they put him.
Oh yeah, I think Vance is going to run. I could see some others considering it as well too, and. On the Democratic side, it's going to be a wide open field. We're going to have a very big primary. I know of at least 3 individuals who are considering it as of right now, who are current elected officials, some formers as well. So we'll see what happens.
Do you think Trump going to live out his 4 years?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you don't think he would resign?
No.
Just to, so that he can put the boy in for a couple of years?
No. I think he will try. It's an ego thing to him. I think he'll hold on for that. Okay. But yeah, so, it's going to be interesting. The DNC is now preparing to elect a new chair. I've been getting calls like crazy for people running from different positions. So definitely looking forward to seeing.
Y'all vote on that, right?
Mm-hmm. In January, at the end of January, we'll vote on it.
Okay.
And I'll announce who I'm going to support soon. I'm hearing everyone out right now. Some are a lot stronger than others. But yeah, we have some work to do. Okay. So it's going to be very interesting. And one of the top things is the next DNC chair is pretty much going to have the opportunity to reshape the primary calendar as well. So we'll see how it goes. Outside of that, I did want to announce that Governor Carney has made it. Governor Carney, soon to be Mayor Carney, has made it public that both police chief and fire chief, police chief Campos and fire chief Looney will remained on in his cabinet. It's his first 2 picks. And I'm super excited for both of those guys. I've worked with them in the past. They are both pushing very hard for their departments, for change, to try to make things better. I've known Chief Campos since he's been in the position as chief, but I've known Chief Looney since I was I think I was a 8th grader when I first met then Captain Looney, when I was a member of the Wilmington Fire Explorers, in which I was a member of for a very long time, rose to the rank of chief of the Post 100, which is the Wilmington one. So again, I've seen the work he's done, how he's tried to engage the community. So I'm looking forward to working with both.
Yeah, and I think the chief of police, he's really, I think under a new administration with a different focus, he probably will be able to get done some of the things he probably really want to get done.
Yeah.
He had to be loyal to the person who appointed him.
Right, he served at the pleasure.
But I will say this, I believe that the city council we have moving in will definitely hold him and everybody else accountable, not just through their through the monthly meetings that y'all have, but through the meetings that y'all have to support each person.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with, funding changing and everything. We don't have ARPA dollars, so we have to really be careful about where our funding's going, how we're getting it, working in a intergovernmental way to make sure that we're getting the resources that we need, not only for the departments, but for public safety here in the city of Wilmington. The fire department's going to have to expand a little bit, especially if they're going to be taking on the EMS services as well. So again, between police and fire, we have to make sure we find the money to properly fund both of them.
Yeah, I'm sure y'all will do a great job. You have 1 more minute left on your time, so I want to throw something at you.
Yeah, go ahead.
What do we have to do to get the House? In 2 years from now, there's going to be another election.
Yes.
What do we have to do to get back the House or? Because we need one of them, but we prefer to have the Senate because that's all the appointments going to come from. So
gerrymandering is why the Republicans still have the House right now. The Supreme Court, they lost 2 seats. Democrats lost 2 seats in 2022. And they after that, the Republicans took majority and then redrew the lines of North Carolina's congressional district. If they had not done that, we would have the majority right now based off those old North Carolina maps. We picked up multiple seats in California, in New York, and in key areas, Georgia as well, or not Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama and Louisiana. I think right now you have to focus in on where the competitive districts are, and it's not a lot of them. So there's one in Colorado. The Colorado 8th district is going to be extremely competitive. I think Alaska is still in competition there. I think you look at Arizona, they have 2 seats that we could compete in. And then you look at New York. New York has 2 left that we could really compete in. California has 2 left that we could compete in. That's pretty much all the opportunity throughout the United States that we have is in those areas. It's very sad, but that's the reality that we live in because of so much gerrymandering.
Well, how does the Republicans get to do all this gerrymandering? We never do any gerrymandering.
Try to be ethical.
Try to be ethical.
Try to be ethical.
Yeah, well, it's now ethical because since they did it, now we need to do it. I guess. I don't know.
Yes. I mean, I could have drawn a map that made all 50 or 52 California seats Democratic, right? I could draw a map today that makes Missouri, which we have not won in, right, go from 2 seats for Democrats to 5 seats for Democrats, right? You can easily do that, but should you? No, right? But then you get into, well, they just did that down in North Carolina. I think the best thing is if we do get the majorities back and get a trifecta again, is the first thing that has to go is re-strengthening the Voter Rights Act, which has a provision in there about gerrymandering, and make states redraw it to make it equal, and not pack and play where they pack all the minorities into one district to create a super minority district where it should be, you should have 2 smaller minority districts, but still minority districts. So again, that's where we have to do. I think if you change some Supreme Courts up and start focusing in on down the ballot races as well too, you'll really start to see some differences.
Okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I do want to revisit the conversation I was going to start with you with some of the elected officials who are starting to be criticized because they are not now available as they were. We'll be right back.
Breast cancer is the most common cancer in women. 1 out of 8 or 12% of women will develop breast cancer in their lifetime. Unfortunately, Hawaii has one of the highest numbers of new cases of breast cancer. We're 6th out of the 50 states for a number of breast cancer cases. We know on average, 40 is the age at which we start with breast cancer screening. And sometimes we know that it's important to get early detection and screening. We have high-risk programs to do that.
I started getting mammograms in my early 30s because I have a family history of breast cancer. My mom and her mom both had been previously diagnosed, and I truly believe that it was that early annual mammogram that saved my life.
Andrew's story really helps to showcase how important it is to have early detection and screening and really tailor treatments and management according to that. It really also shows how brave she was to share about her story and personalize it, because we all know someone who's been affected by breast cancer.
This land we love belongs to all of us. Yet not everyone is treated equally. Right now, millions of Americans are fighting for the things promised to all by the Constitution: freedom, justice, equality. The ACLU is leading the fight to protect our civil liberties. Together, we can protect and advance our rights nationwide, because we the people means all of us.
This land was made for you and me.
Learn how the ACLU is defending the right to vote, free speech, and other civil liberties at myaclu.org.
I'm Christopher Holton. I'm very active. It was a Saturday morning. Normally I go for my normal walk.
With no warning, Chris suffered a near-fatal heart attack. But thankfully, Brian Buckley, a bystander, saw him collapse and rushed to help.
He did this big gasp for air and then just stopped. It's like I went into autopilot. It's like all that training I did back in the day around CPR just magically came out of nowhere.
Because of the CPR training that Brian received, Chris did make it and didn't die on the trail that day. CPR training provided by the American Heart Association.
Looking at your hands, these 2 hands could save a life.
Being a father, you want to be around. You want to be around for your kids.
Heart disease is America's #1 killer. To learn more about how the American Heart Association helps save lives, go to helpheart.org.
We are women first, but women with disabilities last.
During a military exercise, we crashed and I broke my neck.
When I was in the Air Force, an accident changed my life. I couldn't have imagined the injustices I would face.
Every day, women like me go to the doctor for annual checkups for conditions like breast cancer. Early detection saved my life. But women with disabilities face a cruel reality: inaccessible medical facilities and equipment.
In the 25 years since my injury, I have not seen a gynecologist. There's not one accessible OB/GYN in my community.
I found lumps in my breast. I went to a doctor's office I was told was accessible. But when I got there, I couldn't get through the front door.
I don't know where I'd be today without access to testing. Our veterans deserve better. Help PVA fight for access at pva.org.
And we're back. Real quick, just wanted to, there's been several people criticizing some of the officials who ran in some very tough races, and they had supported them very strongly, and now they can't get into communication with them. And I know when we were talking off record, offline, you had shared some reasons why that could be so. And I just want to try to just talk about that for the next minute or two, the best we can.
Yeah. So what people, I think, because there has not been transparency around this in the past, a lot of people don't know that you don't just sit and wait until you're sworn in. The work starts, which you're working for free because you're not getting paid until you get sworn in. On appointments, on policy, on budgets, right? So like even right now with city council, even though we don't get sworn in until January and we won't vote on the budget until like March or April, we're in our budget meetings right now making our ask for what we want for our districts. You have individuals who you look at, they announce their transition teams, they're trying to have transparency, have people engage. They're crafting their policy, what they're going to ask their legislative bodies that they have to work with to get done. Marcus Henry's doing that right now. Matt Meyer's doing that right now. Kyle Evans-Gay's doing that right now. So it's harder to get in touch with these people right now because not only are they still trying to work with everyone, now the rubber hits the road here, right? You only have until January to get this stuff all in and ready and prepared for, then you get sworn in. Then you have more time to work on it. But if it's not in the ask and in the crafting right now, you're going to have to wait a whole year to get that stuff done.
Well, what are some of the things that the people are trying to communicate with them is some of the things that they need to get the ask in now. So they can get ready for that. Not returning phone calls and not responding to people, I think is kind of smacking their face.
Yeah. And I think, they have more staff now that can help with that. And there has to be a process for things. So again, as county exec, as governor, as mayor, you can't just say, all right, now you can make the promise during the campaign, I want to get this done. But now you also have to work with a legislative body, right? Mm-hmm. So now this is why they set up very public transition teams to allow you to reach out to them so the right people can go in and vet and make sure they're doing the right steps, because there are certain policies and procedures they now have to follow when it comes to things as well too, so that they don't get hit with any type of lawsuits.
Yeah, well, when I've been in conversation with several people, and they're saying, during the campaign, some people were very much able to communicate, and now they just not. And when we were talking earlier, I don't want people to be unfairly treated, because the 4 years will go quickly.
Yeah.
People hold grudges. And I want to say this to all the politicians too. People do hold grudges. They remember that when I worked like a dog to get you there, and then I not heard from you, or I've not got, because who you have around you is important too. Mm-hmm. That's why they haven't announced who the chief of staff is going to be for Governor Carney yet. But I'm comfortable with who I'm hearing.
Right.
But I think it's important that people realize 4 years come and go real quick. And what has to happen is they have to realize the people that got you there are the people that can be against you and therefore your opponent next time. And it might be the difference in a win and a lose. So people need to be mindful of that.
So Carney did just announce.
He did.
So his current state budget director, OMB director, Saron Cade, will serve as his chief of staff.
Yes. My assumption, what I had heard, it has been validated. So I'm very glad to hear that. See, Carney making some good moves. I've not heard too many other announcements from different other levels, but he's making some good moves. People who really doubted what he would do, everything is moving in the right direction. We got to now see how the execution goes. Yeah. And we're going to be paying attention to that. But people like Cade, look, he was given a position in Carney's first administration, and people were like, you're too young. And I was one of the ones that sort of say, you don't say it to other people. So don't be saying that about him. And he's proving himself over and over again. Now he's back in the city. This is going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to that. But I don't want to leave today, because we do have to go now, but I don't want to leave today without telling those of you who are watching me, especially the politicians, because some of you are connected to politicians, get back to your constituents. Get back to those individuals who you were with and who were with you. Because if the grudges start, it's hard to get rid of them. And that's all I'm going to say, because I do know he's busy. Everybody's busy. I'm busy as a pastor. But I got to make sure you're taking care of the heart of the people who have really got you to where you are, because 4 years is going to be done. You're going to be campaigning all over again. Saying, I'm running for governor. I don't know what you're going to run for the next time. Anything else on your table today?
Nothing else is on my table today.
Well, it has been a joy. I ask that you please enjoy this Christmas season. Please take time with family. Please take time with friends. And let's make things work for our good. Until the next time, God bless you.
Take care, y'all.
You've been watching The Sword with host Dr. C.T. Curry and co-host Coby Owens. Tune in every Sunday at 5 p.m. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for the latest episodes.